Hello, and welcome to my presentation today on financial strategies, creating generational wealth. Today, I am going to touch on how to get out of debt. So, this title is called Getting Out of Debt. On the agenda, we'll discuss who I am, why do I do what I do, uh, debt, where did it come from, some common mistakes that we, as make with our money, how to get out of debt with debt resolutions, and most importantly, staying out of debt. And then we'll end this presentation with question and answers. Basically, if this is a live presentation, we'll do live questions and answers on the forum. However, if this is sent to you via email, I strongly suggest you just send your questions to me through email and I will respond back. I also can schedule one-on-ones where we can go over the entire presentation, focusing on those questions that you may have, or that you may have some concerns or anything that you may need from after watching the presentation. So, who am I? Well, I am a mother. I have two daughters. Uh, both are in their 20s, and I have four grandkids. But I started my career at the age of 19 in radiology. I became a full time radiologic technologist, and I've been doing this for like 23 years. I am still currently working full time, but I work in a specialized portion or modality of radiology called CT, or computerized tomography, aka CAT scans. Um, the job in healthcare is very hard on your body over time. A lot of wear and tear. Mentally, physically, it can drain you. So I knew looking forward, this was not going to be a thing I wanted to retire from. When I retire, I want to retire comfortably. I want to be young and healthy and still be able to enjoy life. And so I started looking for alternatives. And one of those alternatives, as far as making money outside of investments, was becoming a notary public. So I became a notary for South Carolina in September 2024. And then shortly after that, I was introduced to a young lady who told me her story and her background in real estate. And then she proceeded to tell me how she got into the life insurance industry. It was very intriguing. And what I found from it was an opportunity to mold both the notary public side and the life insurance producer side to ultimately help my community understand what financial literacy is, prepare them for the future, and help them build an estate that is secure and will protect their assets in days to come. This is why I do what I do. It's for my family. I'm missing pictures of two of my grandsons and my oldest daughter, but you have myself here and my significant other and my sister and then my youngest daughter and her two daughters. But this is why I do what I do. I do it for family. Not just for my family, but for your family. So let's jump right into our Getting Out of Debt series. Where did it come from? Um, I think it's an interesting question, but also a very known answer for many people. We all know what debt is, and a lot of times we find ourselves drowning in it, and you look back and you're like, well, how did this happen? Where did it come from? Well, overspending. You got a paycheck and you've already spent it before you received it because you're out here buying this, buying that, not really showing yourself to have discipline, not budgeting, lack of budgeting. You're not uh, looking at your income and your outcome. And when you're doing that, you kind of fall into this trap where you're mismanaging your finances. You're not focusing on the agendas. You don't have a goal set. You're just living in the moment. You end up having more coming out than coming in. Hence the reason I put outcome is greater than your income. And then to get out of that situation, we fall trapped to getting loans, getting credit cards, thinking, well, I can pay it off in due time. I don't have to pay it all off at once. And yet you forget that you're accumulating interest with those loans and those credit card debts. And so now your debt has overcome to the point you're drowning, and you don't know what to do. What is the next step? So, common mistakes that are made with money. When you find yourselves in the situation where you're in debt, for instance, and you need some support, you need some help to get out of it. A lot of people work for companies that offer benefits like 401ks or 403bs, and they'll borrow money against their 401k, or borrow money from it, or they'll withdraw money, really. um that's not a good idea. It is a huge mistake because, one, that money is set aside tax deferred and it's building up your retirement, something that you're going to need when you retire and you want to have some income coming in every month. That's the first thing. The second thing is you're getting penalized for it. If you're not 59 and a half years old or older, then you will be penalized with a fee. Then third, you're getting taxed because the money that is in your retirement plan is tax deferred, which means you're going to get taxed at the time of your retirement. Your bracket will probably most likely be less than what it is now. So you're getting taxed at a higher bracket than it's projected to give you when it's time for you to retire. So that is a huge mistake. You don't want to do that. You need to look for other alternatives. Another mistake that people make with their money, they wait till the first few months of the year when tax season is here, and they want to just do everything then. They want to go on a shopping spree, take their family on a vacation, just things that does not offer a return. A lot of it, I call it guilt spending, because you may have children, or you may have been living in circumstances that aren't the best, and you're overcompensating by buying your children all these things, in the moment. So you're doing in the moment spending, you're doing guilt spending, and those are mistakes that you don't want to do. You could find your tax returns, find something better to do with them. And that is another conversation, but there are strategies to help you develop and grow when it comes to getting money from your tax returns that has a greater return. Another common mistake made with money, habitual spending. Some people have bad habits, just bottom line. You get $1, you spend $1.50. And it's like, wow, what's going on? Gambling, out here shopping when you got a closet full of clothes, a closet full of shoes, all these different accessories, and yet you're still buying more stuff and you don't have nowhere to put them. So now you're throwing them in bags and you're throwing them in boxes and you're stuffing them up under your beds or somewhere on a shelf somewhere because you have nowhere to put them. And a lot of stuff still has tags on it. That's a problem. That's habitual spending. Maybe you have a particular hobby that you're just addicted to, and you have to do that hobby. If it's golfing or playing cornhole, or shooting pool, or um, getting lost in maybe building structures or sculptures and paints or whatever. You're not. There's nothing wrong with money. There's nothing wrong with having a hobby, but if you're investing your money into it, you just need to do it wisely. Another common mistake is gifting with a loan. The whole year's gone by, and Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, everything comes back to back. By the time Christmas comes, a lot of people are broke, but they don't want their children to not have gifts on Christmas Day. So they get a loan, or they max out their credit cards, and then they say, well, I'll just get it in the new year when my taxes come back, that kind of thing. So these are things that, you can prepare for Christmas, and you can prepare for birthdays, you can prepare for vacations and trips. You don't have to wait till those moments come and find yourself in debt trying to afford those things. Another thing is expensive trips. Why do you have to go out of country to enjoy yourself? Why do you have to go to Dubai or Bora Bora, you know, Cancun or Puerto Rico, or anything that requires a plane ticket or um, a resort stay, all inclusives, just to feel important, whatever it is that gives you that thrill, that excitement on those expensive trips. There are ways that you can have expensive trips without spending the extra money, and that's another topic that we can go over um, in a few minutes or in another time. But just keep in mind, all these things that are listed, they can be at your fingertips, but it's not about spending all your money at one time to get it. It's how you go about doing it, finding strategies, using tools to be able to still enjoy those things without going broke. Now, if you are one of those people who are in debt, there are ways of getting out of debt organically. There are also ways of helping you get out of debt a little bit quicker. Well, one of the debt ways that you can get out of debt quicker would be through debt consolidation. Debt consolidation combines multiple debts together, and you get to pay them debts off with one bill at a lower monthly payment. Instead of having to pay $50 here, $150 there, $75 here, etc., 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 now you put all those bills into one account. The company that is doing the consolidation will charge those accounts off, and now you only owe them. And you will pay them for X amount of years with a low monthly payment. Now, the interest rate may be high, but the payment might not be too bad, okay? And this is consolidation. You're bringing it all into one. Another way that people like to pay off their debt is something called an avalanche method. And basically, what you're doing is you're taking all of your debts, you're categorizing them from the highest balance or the highest interest rate to the lowest balance or the lowest interest rate. You're going to pay every bill the way it's supposed to be paid on time, but you're going to pay the minimum on each bill, okay? So if each one is minimum $50, you're going to pay that $50 on each one. Now, here's the kicker. The one at the very top, number one, the highest balance or the highest interest rate, once that bill is paid off, then you're going to apply the amount of money you spent on that bill to the second one. Okay? And that way, what's going to happen is you're eliminating the debt with the highest interest rate. So your credit score is going to go up significantly greater versus doing it the other way around. And since you're applying that money that you use on the first one to the second one, you're going to pay that second one off quicker. So then you're going to repeat. Once the second one is paid off, you take that money and you apply it to the third. So what does that look like in numbers? Well, let me show you. Alright, so over here to the left, I've kind of tried to create a little diagram using my finger on this pad. And it's not all that great, but it's the best I can do. So we're going to just start with the first three. Let's say you have a whole list, but we're just going to focus on the first three of those debts. All the debts cost, all the debts were $50, and let's go by the interest rate in this case. So since we're not doing the highest balance, we're doing the highest interest rate. So number one has a high interest rate of maybe, let's just say, 14, where number two, the interest rate might be 10, and number three, the interest rate might be 9. So we're starting with the highest interest rate. You pay the first one off, and all the other ones are all 50 as well. But you pay the first one off. And so once you paid off the first one, that one is now canceled out. And it goes to the second. Remember, they were all $50. So if it's going to go to the second one, well, now you're only paying 100 instead of 50 to the second one. All right, that's gonna help that speed along a lot quicker. Well, now that one gets paid off, and you slash that out. So what happens? Well, remember, it gets applied to the next. So now you're going to pay again. This was originally 50. Now you're adding 100. So it's 150 that you're going to be paying on that third one. All right. I hope that makes sense. And this is the pattern that you're going to do with the avalanche method. Ironically enough, this is the same pattern you're going to do with the snowball method. The only difference in this case is that the balance is the focus point, not the interest rate, but the balance. So in this case, you want to set it up where the balance is cheaper than, or the first one is the lowest balance, and then the highest balance is at the bottom. So you'll have like in this particular scenario, you'll have 50, 100, 150 on your balances, okay? But the difference is that when you pay off the first balance of $50, just like with with this avalanche, you're going to apply what you were paying. You're going to apply what you were paying on the first one to the second one. Now, what happens is where you have 100 on your original balance, now you're adding 50 from the balance that you just paid off from the first one. So now in this case, you're going to be paying 150. All right. So then you pay off that balance, and remind you, just like I explained before, all the bills you pay the minimum. But in this snowball method, you're arranging it so that the first bill is the lowest balance, and it goes in chronological order down to the highest balance. Where in the avalanche method, you were basing it off of the highest interest rate being the first bill to the lowest interest rate, or the highest balance to the lowest balance. Okay, so with the snowball method here, you're cutting your debt off based off what you can financially afford. So if you can't afford the avalanche method, then maybe you can afford to do it with the snowball method and just pay off the first one that's got the lowest balance and apply that balance to the second one. And then, as you can see here, as you pay off the second one, then you're going to apply that balance to the third one. And it looks like this. So it was what, 150? Now you're going to add another 150. So now your balance is really what you're paying is 300. And that's a benefit to you too, because again, it's going to help your credit score go up. Um, Another thing I like to tell people is that when you're paying off your debt, pay it off in two payments, not just one payment every month, but two if you can, so that it kind of tricks the system and makes the system think you're paying more into it. You know, even if you're just paying the minimum balance, the system will trigger and believe that you're paying extra payments that month. So it increases your credit score. So that is a little bit of a strategy for how you want to increase your credit score. You want to pay the first payment, split up the minimum balance into two payments. The first payment needs to be done the first week of the month, and then you want to make the last payment 3 days before the balance is due on the statement date. And so there's a statement date on your bill, and then there's an actual due date. And you want to go by the statement date because that's when your the company reports to the bureaus. So you want to go by the statement date. So 3 days before the statement date should be your last payment, and you can make the first payment anytime during the first week of the month. Okay. The art is not in making money, but in keeping it. I like that little quote. Something to think about. And why I use that quote is because of the next agenda, which is staying out of debt. Again, is the art is not about making it, but keeping it. So how do you stay out of debt? Well, for starters, you got to track how you're spending your money and then create a budget. And what I like to tell people to do, go into your bank account and look up, like, for the last 3 months, what have you been doing? Print out statements, get highlighters, and get your notebook and everything, and start categorizing your spending. Now, some banks will do that for you, which is a wonderful tool. Utilize it if you can. But otherwise, if you can't, just print those statements out, highlight, categorize, and write them down. Okay. And then you go through the categories and you say to yourself, do I really need to spend money on this particular item? Am I going out too much? Am I going out to eat too much? Am I going to the movies too much? How am I spending my money? And see, by doing this, you can then create a budget. You can then start seeing where all your money is going and make that determination if that spending is necessary. And then determine what is necessary and how you can allocate your funds every month towards those necessary items. The next step, which is step 2, is discipline and control. A lot of people don't mind doing step 1, but getting to step 2, that's usually the hard part, because now you're having to get out of the habit of spending. And some people spend with emotions, because maybe they're having a bad day and they just wanted something to do that would make them happy. So maybe buying some shoes or a nice outfit or going to get a massage or a facial, or buying some junk food or whatever the case may be. That's what makes them happy in the moment. But that's also showing a lack of discipline and a lack of control. So we have to remind ourselves of our habits, recognize them, and then try to find some control around them so that you get the discipline you need to save your money when times are hard. Find something else to do, a journal, something that doesn't cost you a lot of money. But whatever it is, discipline and control is what's going to keep you on to the next step. And that is working with a financial coach to create a plan that does fit your personal need. And the reason I say work with a financial coach is because you can't summarize everything that a person needs in order to stay out of debt in this one presentation. It does take some one-on-one counsel. So once you've done 1 and 2, go ahead and get with a financial coach and kind of show them where you are, what you're doing, what your goals are. You want to talk about where you're trying to lead, what is your end goal? What is it that you're wanting to do? And that financial coach should be able to direct you to the right path. Together, you guys should be able to create a plan that is personalized and customized solely to fit your need. This is the time for questions and answers. So if this is a live presentation, you will be open to the floor. This is when you get the opportunity to express what it is that you are having concerns with. Otherwise, if this was sent to you through email, please come back and let me know what you thought of the presentation. We can have some conversations. We can do a one-on-one over the phone or Zoom or whatever's comfortable for you. Or if you want to just kind of go back and forth through email or text and send me your questions, and I'll send you the answers. So we just try to kind of navigate that way. The habit of saving is itself an education. It fosters every virtue, teaches self denial, cultivates the sense of order, trains to forethought, and so broadens the mind. T.T. Monger. So if you're ready to make that next move and you want to go ahead and schedule a one-on-one, we can go ahead and go over your questions and answers. If you're interested in any of the other services that I provide, if pertaining to life insurance, notarial services, estate planning, Please reach out to me. You have my information here, my number, my office. It's located on Two Notch Road here in Columbia. And my email address is leverly81.rgs@gmail.com. I also provided my NPN number, which is my producer's number for the nation. So if you wanted to look me up to see if I'm still active or whatever the case may be. But I do own Rose Gold Signatures. That is my company. Um, and again, I'm a life insurance producer in a South Carolina notary public. So I'm here to service you with whatever it is that you need help with. Until then, thank you for watching my presentation. I hope that it gave you some information that you can actually grow from. And I hope that we can connect and grow together. You have a blessed day.